So today I thought we'd have some fun looking at the three Telecasters that I've got behind me. I'm a massive fan of Telecasters, and these three different types here really sort of, for me, take me through the era that I'm most interested in for Telecasters. And they all sound reasonably different. They have different types of pickups in, different neck shapes and everything. So if you're looking to buy a Telecaster or, just interested, I will take you through. We're going to just play each one for a couple of minutes in different positions and talk about why I like each one. It's not really about which one's my favourite because I love them all for different reasons. So let's kick off with the first one that I bought, which was the 70th anniversary broadcaster. So I'm a massive fan of the Blackguard Tele as a design. I'm a fan of the history. I'm interested in the history of how Fender came about, the first guitars that were produced. And when I saw this a couple of years ago, they were doing this 70th anniversary thing. It just ticks all the boxes for me. And this is the custom shop one. They did a standard run and then a custom shop. When, I have to say, in relative terms to today, the custom shop looked half decent value. I think this cost $3,200 for this lovely journeyman finish, which I really like. It's got a nice level of relic to it that makes it look like it's been about a bit, but you've still got plenty of space to put your own wear on it. And it's got a few extra chips now than it did when I got it. So probably the most interesting thing to tell you about this one straight off the bat is that the wiring is not like a normal Telecaster. So this is wired so the bridge position is the bridge position as you'd expect, but this isn't your normal tone sort of knob. It is a blend that blends it with the neck. So by the end of it, I think they're fully blended together. As you go more on, you become more and more bridge. So that's really useful, actually. The middle position is just the neck pickup, and it's just what you would expect a neck pickup to be on a Telecaster. Then if you put it on the neck, and by the way, in the middle and the neck positions, the tone doesn't do anything. This is the neck position, but there's a capacitor there that takes off some of the top end. And this was the original sort of design because it was obviously used a lot for jazz music. So it has that rolled off top end thing, so it sounds a bit darker. The other interesting thing to tell you about it is this has a compound radius. The compound is a 7¼ to a 9½ inch radius, which I don't imagine is at all accurate to the originals, but I could be completely wrong. But that feels like something they've thought is just really useful for the player, and it really is. It's quite a beefy neck. It's 0.925 inches at the first and 1 inch at the 12th. But the way the shoulders are, they're not massive wide shoulders, so it doesn't feel like an overly chunky neck for me, which I really like. So that's really all I've got to say about this. We're just going to have to hear it because I love the way this thing sounds. We're going to hear him right now through this really cool amp. This is the Victoria Silversonic, which I've got on loan from Coda, and I'm currently making a video about who this amp is for. I'm really enjoying it. This is a Tweed 20-watt amp with reverb and tremolo. It's got a full sort of tone stack like a 5F6A bassman, so mids, treble and bass. It's loud, there's no master volume. It's perfect for these sort of early design Telecaster sounds because it's a 50s type amp, 50s type guitars. So let's hear this. So in a way, this guitar is reasonably one-dimensional. You know, like for the way I play, it definitely inspires me to play a sort of older style, and I really enjoy that. I often put a capo on, maybe the 3rd fret. I like the way it sounds when you sort of change the frequency like that. I like the fact that it just really hits hard, you know, with these pickups. And I did put the Sunbears in here a while back, and it opened up the guitar a bit more and brought out even more character. So I'm waiting for some more of those Sunbears, hopefully, to put in here. But at the moment, I like the fact that it is the way that, you know, it was intended when it was made, and it's like this big sledgehammery sort of guitar. I don't find the neck as comfortable as I do some others, being it's so big. It's not uncomfortable, but it's definitely my least favourite of the 3. The shape of this neck they call 1950 Blackguard, so that doesn't massively help in explaining it. But yeah, I hope you could hear what it sounded like. I do want to say one thing. This amp probably suits some guitars more than others. Like, for example, the next guitar, the red one, I'd prefer it through my big 2-rock 100 watt with the 6L6s, which suits its more sort of like broad character and brings out even more. Whereas this one, I think it really suits the smaller deluxe size and that more overdriven style. But I've decided just to play all the guitars on the same settings on the same amp to make this a bit simpler. But really, all 3 would be played in different amps and different settings. But yeah, let's see how the red one compares sound-wise. Okay, so chronologically, this wouldn't fall next in terms of what it's based on, but it's the next one that I bought after the Broadcaster, and it was 3 years later really that I bought this. So I was really satisfied with that Broadcaster for a long time, but this caught my eye. I really like rosewood fretboards. I love maple as well. I do feel the difference between the two on Strats and clearly on Teles as well, now having played this and owned this for a few weeks and played it a lot. So this is a master built. It's a Dale Wilson, and I was dubious as to sort of getting a master built Tele because of all the guitar types, it's the one you hold in your head as probably the simplest to build, the fewest parts, the least that can go wrong, maybe the least potential for it being completely superior to another one. And so I'm really glad that I went for this rather than a sort of Broadcaster equivalent, which I have played some master built ones and they are really cool, really great. But this is a different spec altogether. So this is a 63 style Tele. So it's got a completely different thing going on with it. So it's got a 9.5-inch radius, and it's got what is called a 59 Esquire C-shaped neck, which is the same shape that's on my Dale Wilson Strat. So I'm really used to it. The neck specs 0.79 inches on the first and 0.97 on the 12th. So if we compare that, the Broadcaster at the first was 0.925 going up to an inch at the 12th. So it's much thinner here at the first fret, which to me makes this more appealing for certain things, like especially rhythm playing, which I find really comfortable on here. And I think of this guitar completely differently. So the first one I think of for like that old blues style more, and for like searing lead lines and like massive hitting and everything. This one I can, in my head, it feels more like a funky, soul-y, mid-60s type sounding guitar. Now, I changed the pickups in this one, which I hadn't in the first. In the first guitar were the hand-wired Blackguard ones. In this one is now Sunbear Broad 5.0s. And I changed those from what were in there, which were a hand-wired twisted Tele in the neck and a hand-wired Josephina Red Hot Tele in the bridge. Now, there was nothing wrong with those pickups, but when you're used to changing pickups a lot in guitars, you start to see that you get the absolute best out of a guitar by using your favorite pickups. So I've kept the original ones, and I'm sometimes going to put them back in. I'm going to do a video comparing them. But Sunbear pickups, I love his P90s, and I love his Teles, and I love his PAFs the most. Well, all 3 of those, I mean, I love the most of all his pickups compared to other people that I'm trying at the moment. These Tele pickups are just magnificent. They're so dynamic, so much fun to play. They sound how you'd want, you know. We're going to hear that. Let's hear it, and then maybe we'll talk about it more. So as I said before, I would probably naturally play this in a cleaner amp, and an amp with 6L6s would be my preference. This guitar has a really lovely tight sort of low end, and whether that's down to the alder, which is different from the Swamp Ash, whether it's down to being a rosewood neck or just whatever it is, it sounds a bit different, and it gives me a different vibe. It's more scooped, and you can definitely sort of do more funky rhythm lines, and it doesn't make me want to play such an old style of blues. It makes me want to play, like 15 years later, 10, 15 years later, which is really cool. I love it for that. And I find this neck more comfortable. So anyway, next time I do a video with this in, which I'm going to do a standalone one since I haven't done that since I bought it, I will play it more through the 2-rock, and we'll hear that sort of more dynamic sound, the bigger bottom end, the more scooped nature of this guitar, and get lots of different sounds out of it. But yeah, I still really enjoyed that, and I feel a bit different playing this one. More rhythmical, more percussive, more sort of feeling out of a sort of idea, as opposed to playing an old blues, which I hope that makes sense. But yeah, I love the pickups in here as well. Again, the cleaner the amp and the sort of more, to me, the 6L6s bring out more with different pickups than this sort of more overdriven character of this smaller 6V6 type amp. But I also love the sound of that. Right, here's the third guitar, and it's going to be it's completely different, and it sounds completely different. So this is a limited edition one, which I think also the Broadcaster was, being that was 70th anniversary. I don't really know what they mean by limited edition, how many numbers and all of that sort of stuff. It costs slightly more than a normal custom shop one. It's still a team built, not a master built. And completely different sort of specs, as you can see. It's an HS, it's ash, you can tell. Now, the pickups are still the ones that it came with. So they're a SH55 Seth Lover from Seymour Duncan in the neck, and a hand-wired crushed blackguard Tele in the bridge. And so it will have the stacked pot, so it will have a 250k and a 500k, for the different pickups. I had tried this in the shop. It'd been there a while. I came away, and over time I thought about it more and more and more, and watched some old demos from Peach, Jack especially, and this guitar, like, its character just shone out through the screen. And I knew in the shop that I'd loved it, but just took a bit of time for me to get round to sort of getting it. I love the fact this is very different from the other two. It's a much sort of more deep sounding Telecaster. It's got a lot more low mids to it. It's smoother sounding, and it again has its completely different vibe. You'll see when I play that I play something completely different. And what I aimed to do today was just pick up the guitar and play each one the way I would play that guitar in its own right. Not I'm trying to compare the three. This isn't a comparison, putting clips one after the other. These are the neck pickups, these are the middle pickup positions, this is the bridge pickup. This is more of what does the three guitars offer you that's different. Now this is a 51. So it has a big neck as well. It's not quite as big. It's 0.91 at the first and 0.99 at the 12th, but it has a V shape. So I find that a little bit more comfortable than the massive broadcaster one, which is more of a baseball batty sort of C shape, I guess. Other than that, not a lot to tell you about the specs. I think we need to hear it. But yeah, it's a bit heavier, this guitar. It's the heaviest one of the three. It's got the heaviest tone as well, but it's also got so much sustain and depth to it, and I'm really loving it and how different it is from those. So yeah, I don't really have many guitars that would make me want to play in that sort of more. I don't know how to classify that sort of playing. It just was something that comes out when I play this guitar. Yeah, it can do lots of other stuff. I've had it plugged into massive fuzz pedals. It sounds more modern than my other two Teles do. That's what I like about this one, actually. It offers me something completely different. And it feels a bit like having a Les Paul as well. It's got the heft to the sound, and it's not just about the pickups. If you play this guitar acoustically, it's got a big meaty bottom end to it and low mids, which I really enjoy. When I do standalone videos for this one and the red one especially, I will take you through more and more sounds. But this is a great option from the custom shop, an HS one, because a lot of people don't use the neck position on a Tele all that much anyway, right? You're there for the bridge. So having a hum in there actually gives you something completely different that you will probably use. And if you like the sort of vintage aesthetic like I do, this is a lot more, it feels a lot more like a modern guitar. I don't know what there is about it other than the fact it's got a hum that makes it feel like that, because obviously it looks very old, sort of style. Still has a sort of old style neck, but there's something about the sustain and the way that comes out that doesn't feel like an old type of guitar like the broadcaster does. So it makes you play different. So 3 different custom shop teles, and I really, really like them all. For completely different reasons. You know, I'm more likely to pick up the broadcaster and play some Delta Blues. I'm more likely to pick up the red one when I'm thinking about Albert Collins, or you know, the early mid 60s and funky rhythm lines. And the one on the right hand side, I'm more likely to pick up if I was thinking of using a Les Paul, but I fancy using a Tele, or if I want to roll it back and play what you heard, you know, that more sort of soul sort of based stuff, or chordal stuff, maybe less percussive. It's just massive sounding, that one. I don't know how well the white one would fare in a band situation, given how sort of how much, you know, low mids and bass it has, but it's just so much fun to play. I can't tell you my favorite between the 3. Probably the broadcaster on the left is the most limited one. Probably the one in the middle is the most unique one that I think you'll see me playing a lot, because I'm really I've got more into a sort of 60s, you know, Steve Cropper and Motown and Stax and all kinds of things like that, which this suits so well. And it's a restrained guitar. And this one on the right is the opposite of restrained. It's massive and a lot of fun. And so, yeah, I'm really happy with these 3, and they sort of make up a whole collection of teles that I love. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Was just a quick video, really, that I wanted to put together and not go too much into depth and compare differences and similarities in sound. It's more about what do the 3 offer you individually. And maybe it's helped you to think about what you might like. But again, it's such a personal thing, isn't it?